Hello and welcome, my dearest buddy. See, you were never meant to hunt scraps. And deep down, you knew it. Even when you had nothing in your hands, you carried the emotion more subtly, but inexorably into your tail. This is not a hallucination. This is memory. Because before the world taught you how to exist by shrinking, God had designed for you to be supported by being completely yourself. And the moment has arrived. This is not about hustling. This is not about establishing your value. This is when heaven begins to fund what it created. Not the mask or the copy, but the true you, the person who took the narrow road and remained. You're not being rewarded for playing the game. You're receiving funding because you refused to. You walked away from platforms that valued your skill, but not your authenticity. You choose sacred above flashy. You remained impoverished in ego, but wealthy in alignment. And now, compensation is catching up. This is not a review of your performance. It's a divine validation of your transformation. Because God doesn't pay you by the hour. It's wonderful. And the currency preference position used to have friction doors, where there used to be walls. Anointing which grants access. Money cannot even purchase. They will not grasp how you are walking into an overflow. Without a formula, a sponsor, or the grind culture template. But you did not miss any stages. You remained still when everything in you wanted to move. You watched others rush forward while your spirit remained in the shadows. You stopped pursuing validation, and God included your name in an inheritance. No algorithm could block. This is larger than income. This is effect. And only God noticed how much it cost to get here. The days you wanted to quit, but didn't. Others are celebrating the seasons you saw, while you feel invisible. The years you spent in quiet would have shattered most individuals who claim to have it all together. You didn't miss it. You were being made in a way that would not collapse later. It's similar to how certain stars do not show when expected. Not because they aren't dazzling, but because they are hidden by layers of time and enormous distance. Only under the perfect conditions can their radiance be shown. You are not invisible. You were simply waiting for the environment to catch up with your frequency. And now the radiance is obvious. People misunderstood your quiet for a delay, but God was laying a solid foundation for a torrent of favor. You weren't simply surviving the lean seasons. You were learning to breathe without pleading, how to show up without faking, how to move without requiring applause. And now you're ready to get paid to exist as that version of yourself. Not the edited one, not the appealing one, the aligned one, the one who has survived the fire without becoming bitter, the person who lost everything yet still remained compassionate, the one who did not sacrifice sincerity for recognition, even when it seemed like the only path ahead. And here's the part that no one tells you. Heaven waits until you are strong enough to hold what will not shatter you. That's why it seemed like nothing was coming. That's why the breakthrough was delayed. Even if you were faithful, this was not punishment. It was precise. God did not wish to give you prosperity just for your hands. He intended to offer it to your soul. Wealth that feels like breathing rather than negotiating. Wealth that does not need you to transform into a version of yourself with which you cannot sleep well. Wealth that suggests you're safe today. And that type of money does not arrive quickly. It arrives just on time. Something is moving right now. You can sense it in the atmosphere. Tension before a wave breaks. The inhalation occurs before the exhale. It isn't loud now, but it's clear because the upcoming reward isn't loud and dramatic. It is undeniable, and once it arrives, you won't have to persuade anyone of who you are. Your actions will speak for themselves. Your relaxation will become a revelation. Your article will serve as proof. Because when God finances a life, it exudes a brightness that no marketing campaign can match. And that's what comes next. The era of attempting is coming to an end. The era of receiving for who you truly are has here. And when it does arrive, it will not seem like money for service. It will seem like a celestial recognition, a nod from heaven, saying you did not fold. You did not transform. You remained planted. Keep an eye on the dirt as it opens up, because what's coming to you is more than simply bills and survival. It is riches linked to identity, truth, and purpose. It will feel unusual at first, as relaxation replaces the stress you have lived with for years. How rooms begin to open without you, kicking the door down, and how provisions appear before the pressure hits. Not as a bribe, but for confirmation. Because for the longest time, you only understood how to perform for worth, to demonstrate value via weariness, and to win affection by being helpful. But this chapter is about being recognized without making a sacrifice, supported without pleading, appreciated without shrinking. This isn't the season for just enough. This marks the arrival of more than enough. And not because you chased wealth, but because you evolved into the type of spirit capable of carrying it without being egoistic. You've been entrusted with people's sorrow. Now you're trusted with delight. You've been allocated to broken locations. Now you're being summoned into lovely ones, and you know not everyone will comprehend what's going on. They will seek for a plan. They will attempt to reverse engineer your steps. They'll ask you, what app? Which platform? What's the connection? I flipped the switch. However, they will be unable to develop a formula because this blessing was not obtained by procedure. It originated from maintenance. You remained faithful. You kept your character even when no one was looking. You did not let the desert harden your heart or change your ideals. And that is why the riches is pouring today. It doesn't contain any strings. It is not associated with manipulation or identity loss. It will not need you to shape shift or perform because it is not a paid position. It is a reward, not a bargain. A testimony. The proof is in how it feels. You're not frantic about it. You feel at ease. You're feeling open. You feel rooted. And the tranquility. This is a new frequency of reception because receiving doesn't always include pyrotechnics. Sometimes it comes with a deep silence, a sense that the fighting has ended, that the long drought has finally given way to rivers that do not stop midway. This is when heaven begins to support your tranquility, calm, and delight. You are not paid to perform. You are paid for what you carry and who you are. When no one is clapping because you safeguarded the light at your story's darkest moments. And now that light is manifesting as overflow possibilities that feel like alignment, not obligation provision that feels like destiny, not dead environments that enhance your calm, not deplete your life force. You're entering a season where ease and excellence coexist, and you're no longer the underdog since heaven doesn't regard you as such. You are a pillar, not a project. You are a steward and not a struggler. And when others ask how it happened, you won't have a 5-step explanation. You'll just remark, I stayed when it was hard. I walked when it didn't make sense. And I never let resentment ruin the promise. That is riches. Wealth is more than simply money in your hands. It is the peace of mind that comes from knowing that everything has been taken care of. It is waking up without dread. It's knowing that your name is synonymous with something precious and unstoppable. So, stand up straighter and speak slowly. Feel the seriousness of the situation you're entering. You're not hustling for scraps. You're hosting plenty. You aren't asking to be seen. You're being positioned to be acknowledged. You're not surviving the page. You're about to make the news. Heaven has already written for you, and you aren't just getting paid to exist. You're being praised for persevering without getting bitter. You're being praised for taking the difficult, peaceful paths. You're getting a prize for loving when it seemed like a loss. So let it in. Wealth, support, and recognition. Not because you need to prove anything, but because God has said it is time. And when heaven declares it's time, even the gates you never imagined would open. Swing widely. Thank you for joining me on this adventure. If you found this message useful, please like the video and share it with others who may benefit. Don't forget to subscribe to The Bloom and continue your incredible trip by watching one of the videos on your screen that speaks to you most. See you there.